Welcome back, guys. As always, Hot Mess Espresso is beyond proudly sponsored by 502 Media. We have Michelle Savage on the pod today, who is a mindset and a nervous system coach. And we're going to figure out what that is. And we're going to dive into her story that is so incredibly powerful. Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Thank you for
How are
having
you,
me.
darling?
I'm
Yeah,
great. I'm
I'm
great.
good. So, nervous system and mindset coach. I've had a few of them on, but I don't think I've had a nervous system per se. So what is the
Okay.
difference between that and what brought you to that point?
Okay. Well, you can do, the affirmations and the mindset
Mhm.
things. And I tried that and it was not working for me. So what I realized was your body actually
Mhm.
sends the signals to your mind, to your subconscious, and tells
Mhm.
you, you know, we don't believe this. This is a lie. And so you have to regulate the signals that your body sends, your nervous system sends to your brain
Mhm.
in order to really shift any sort of mindset and change any beliefs or manifest anything. Your nervous system has to be regulated first. So that's how I got into that, because somebody who suffered with lifelong anxiety, I realized that was a nervous system response. So until I could regulate my nervous system, my mind and my body just didn't believe any of the affirmations. It did nothing. So that's how I got into that. And I realized that that is where most people get stuck, is they're
Right.
trying to do the affirmations, the visualizations, meditate, but they're not focusing on their nervous system. And that's why they're not getting the results.
Yeah, I think we're at a point now where people are realizing how much stress the nervous system is under and how much the nervous system just contributes heavily to mental health and things like that.
Yes, because if your body is constantly in a fight or flight mode,
Mhm.
you're already stressing your nervous system. So when you
Right.
try to get into a state where you're trying to manifest something big,
Mhm.
your body's already stressed and it's already freaking out. So it's like, no, we can't do that. So you're just kind of running in circles and then getting more frustrated, more exhausted. So it's just a vicious cycle.
Let's talk about your journey because you've had a hell of a one. You just celebrated 11 years of sobriety, which is
Yes.
absolutely huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you take us through that journey of your struggle with alcoholism and what brought you to the point where you were like, I can't do this anymore. I got to get sober?
Yes, I'd always suffered from very bad anxiety, like to the point that, I would end up in the ER. It was crippling. And it got to the point where I could barely leave my house. I couldn't function like a normal human. And alcohol became my coping mechanism because it would relax me, it would calm me, it depresses your nervous system. So I got to the point where my dad passed away, and 3 months later, my Grammy passed away, who practically raised me. And I was off to the races. That was the trigger, and that was it.
Hmm.
Many years of just drinking myself into oblivion. Like I couldn't function without it. And honestly, I couldn't function with it either. And I was to the point that I was like, you are always going to be an alcoholic. You're just going to die this way. This is it for you. And I got to a point where I was fine with that. I had gone to treatment a couple of times, had at most 9 months sober. And the last time I relapsed, I couldn't tell you why. I just did. And anybody who's ever battled alcoholism will tell you that alcoholic mind, which I now know is your subconscious,
Hmm.
just, it knows you better than anybody. And it knows exactly what to do, exactly what to say to get what it wants. So I started drinking again, and alcohol is a progressive disease. So when you go
Yes.
back to it, you just pick up right where you would have been had you kept drinking. So it was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was living with my mom and her husband, who was also an alcoholic. And I was 40 years old, almost 40 years old at this point. And my stepdad said, "You can't live here anymore. You either go to a homeless shelter or you go to treatment." And so I had a choice to make. And I said, "I would never survive at a homeless shelter. I'm not built like that. I'm not made for the streets." So
Mm-hmm.
I, of course, chose treatment because I was like, that will buy me a couple of weeks where I can figure out what my next move is.
Right.
Never even considered that it might actually stick this time because I was a lost cause. And so I went to treatment. And honestly, by that point, there was no emotion left. It was like a black hole. I just
Mm-hmm.
felt nothing. And I went and I had no fight left in me, nothing left, to give. And I just was, I guess I was ready because there was no fight left. I wasn't trying to resist it. I wasn't trying to do anything. And something clicked. And that was 11 years ago in August. I met my now husband in recovery. We both had known each other from the last time around, but we
Mm-hmm.
reconnected this time, and we've both been sober for 11 years. We now are married, have a daughter, and we kind of keep each other accountable. And it's been if you had told me 11 years ago that this would be my life right now, I would have thought you were insane. I would never have believed it.
Now,
So
how do
here
you
we
kind
are.
of, yeah, how do you keep going when you keep relapsing? I know that there's a degree of shame and why, or was it more of a comfort to be relapsing? Like going back to
I
what
think
you,
looking back, it was comfort because
mm-hmm.
you go, you always go to what's familiar, even if it's the most miserable thing in the world. If it's familiar to your subconscious, that's safety. So as crazy as it seems, the alcohol, the misery, it wasn't even the alcohol, it was the state of mind, the victim state of mind, the self-doubt, the depression. That was my comfort zone. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where if I got sober, that was uncomfortable. And my nervous system and my subconscious said, this is dangerous. We're not familiar with this. We don't know how to function as a normal human
Mm-hmm.
in this world.
Yeah. I've always said that there is safety in chaos. And
Absolutely.
the chaos, I think jumping into something that is, and I mean, this is even with mental health recovery, like recovering from severe mental illnesses, like there is a sense of fear of the unknown. Like, what do I do if I'm better? Like, who do I become as a person? Like, how do I function without like actually having to deal with the feelings versus like sinking into what the vice of choice is?
Exactly. Exactly. Because your subconscious mind, your ego, has one job, and that is to keep you safe. And it doesn't know good or bad, truth or lie. It knows familiar and unfamiliar. Familiar is safe. What it knows, what it has proof of in the past is safe. Anything unfamiliar, new is unsafe. And that's why so many people get stuck in that cycle. Maybe they get better and then they relapse. And this is true with alcohol, drugs, mental illness, anything. It's unsafe. So your subconscious pulls you back in. And the behaviors don't make sense, but they make sense to your subconscious mind because it's doing its job by keeping you safe and pulling you back to what's familiar.
Yeah. If somebody is listening to this right now and they are struggling with having relapsed and they want to get sober, they want to change, but they just kind of keep sinking back into that. Is there a piece of advice you can give? Is there anything you can say?
There's a lot I could say. Um, Number one is it is extremely rare for somebody to get sober for good their very first time. It
Mm-hmm.
is a journey, and everybody's journey is different. Almost any alcoholic or drug addict you've talked to or you will talk to has relapsed. It's part of the journey because you go through this process of thinking, oh, well, now that I know, I can control it. Now that I
Mm-hmm.
know, I won't get past the point of no return. And you have to work yourself through that process. And relapse is a part of it. No recovered alcoholic is going to judge you because you relapsed. So you have to forgive yourself, which is the hardest part for an alcoholic. And you just have to be ready. You will not get sober until you are absolutely ready. Nobody else can want it
1000%.
for you. You can't do it for somebody else. You have to be ready deep down in your soul. You have to be done.
Did that make it easier for you to stay sober for the last 11 years, or have you had points during your sobriety that you're just like, this is a little harder to maintain than it was last week?
That is a great question because honestly, it has not been hard because my life is so amazing now. Like, I'm trying not to cry, but even before I fell into alcoholism, I would never have imagined that my life could be like this. But there are times because I'm a mom now, and moms like their wine, they
Mm-hmm.
like their rosé, their champagne, especially since my daughter
Mm-hmm.
is in competitive cheer. The cheer moms like to go,
God.
they like to have the drinks. And so sometimes I feel a little weird. It's gotten to the point where they all know that I don't drink, but now everybody's comfortable with it. They know I'm not gonna, feel some kind of way if they drink
Mm-hmm.
around me. So I've just become a part of the group. The joke is that I would be the designated driver. But there are
Oh yeah.
times that a part of me wishes I could just, fit in and have a drink with them and celebrate. But knowing what would happen if I did that,
Mm-hmm.
it's never really a consideration
Yeah.
because the cost is just, it's too great.
I don't know if you live in an area where mocktails are like a bigger thing. Thank God for that. Cause like I have personally struggled a little bit, not with full blown alcoholism, but I was like, I could not drink for a while, but if I drank, I didn't have an off button.
Yes.
So for me, I'm like, two is my limit. After two, or like, nope, cut me off. We're done because I won't have an off button. Um, I thankfully live in an area where there's a bajillion like mocktail pop-ups and this, that, and the third. And it has been a game changer because you can
Yeah,
drink with everyone and it's like nobody nobody bats an eye.
I know. And it has been incredible. I tell my husband that eventually I would like to open a bar that
Mhm.
is a mocktail bar and just have these outrageous, cool, fun mocktails. I think that would
Yeah.
be really cool because it's becoming such a thing, especially as everybody moves more towards awareness of mental health and
Yes.
health and wellness and, the toxins and the poisons that we're putting into our body.
Mhm.
Everybody's becoming, more hip to this and realizing how dangerous alcohol is for you, not just to the alcoholic or the would be alcoholic, but just especially women as we age, it becomes increasingly damaging to us. So I found this company that they'll mail you their mocktails, and they
Mm-hmm.
have this one. They're all made of adaptogens, so they're actually good for you,
Oh my
like
God, that's my
ashwagandha,
favorite.
lion's mane. I
Yes.
love it. And they have one that is a fake rosé. And so, I've got my little champagne flutes. My husband will run a bubble bath for me, and I'll get
Yep.
my bougie self in the bubble bath and drink my
Mm-hmm.
mocktail. And that is the best nervous system regulator for me. And it
Yeah.
shifts my mindset too. So if I'm struggling, maybe, having a little doubt, maybe I didn't have a great month, in my business or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
he will run the bubble bath, he'll pour the mocktail for me, and I get
Mm-hmm.
back into my badass CEO self. And there we go.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love the ones that have the adaptogens in them because I'm
Yes.
like, okay, because like I've got several family members that don't drink anymore, or we just like, it's not really like we'll have like a seltzer here or there, but like drinking's just not a thing, which is hilarious because we used to party.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll all have our mocktail and we're like, we'll look at it and we'll be like, oh, it's got like magnesium and L-theanine. And this is actually the relaxant that you want from alcohol, but it's actually like a relaxant for your nervous system. It's like, where
Yes.
was this like 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's actually good for you.
Hmm.
And I'm obsessed with that stuff. I love it.
I think one of my favorite brands is actually, I believe they're women owned, but they're called Nope. And
I haven't heard
they
of
say
that one.
Nope right on the can. And I'm like, I love it here. I absolutely love it here.
I have to try that one because I've used the Curious elixirs, and those are
Okay,
really
yep, I've
good.
heard of those.
Yeah, they're really good. That's where I get the fake rosé. I call it fake
Yeah,
rosé. I don't know what it's actually called, but I'll have to try that Note brand because I love
yeah.
that stuff.
Recess is also a really good one because I know they do the magnesium waters, but they actually have a line of mocktails now.
Okay, I like that. I'm a
So,
huge proponent of magnesium.
hmm.
Everybody needs to take magnesium. I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
I
been a
need to
game
start taking mine
changer.
again.
Oh yeah, I love it. I've now got my
Hmm.
husband on board with it. He doesn't like to take any sort of pills, even if they're vitamins.
Hmm.
Um, but he's on board with magnesium. He's like, where's my, he calls it potassium because he has no idea. So so he's like, where's
Oh
the
my gosh,
potassium?
that's in the bananas on the counter. We're talking about magnesium.
Exactly.
So, kind of a crazy, weird question. When it does come to mocktails, was there a little bit of nervousness, like going to mocktails because you're like, oh God, if it tastes like it, will it put me back in that mindset? Like, was there a little bit of like, I don't even know if I could do mocktails?
Yes, yes, there absolutely was because I was afraid, am I trying, to mimic the drinking, and then is that
Mm-hmm.
going to lead to the actual drinking? Um, and I was worried about that at first, but these taste different enough from alcohol that it's okay. I think it's a completely different drink. I did one time try to get some non-alcoholic wines from the grocery store because it smelled like alcohol. When I opened it, I was like, and I let my husband smell it, and he was like, "Oh, I don't think so."
Mm-mm.
So I put a little bit on my tongue, and I was like, "No, no, that has alcohol in it." And so, like, two bottles were like, it was $30 worth of wine. I just poured it out in the sink. I
Yeah.
was like, it's not worth the risk. I
Nope.
can't do it.
Nope. Not at all. So, how obviously, with eliminating a big mental health coping strategy and becoming sober, walk me through your journey of being able to handle your mental health without help, in air quotes.
Okay. It was pretty easy at first
Hmm.
because I just was in this incredible, almost like a honeymoon phase of life is so good and I'm so blessed and good things keep happening. And, it was just incredible, and Jeremy and I were doing great, and we were moving in together. We were building a life together. And then I had my daughter, and I went through some postpartum anxiety to the point that I was afraid to even leave the house with her alone because I just couldn't, I was afraid of being responsible for this tiny little baby all by myself. And it was just too much for me. And
Yeah.
so the anxiety really came back. And I would have a lot of them were reasonable fears, the fears you have as a mom,
Yeah.
to keep your child safe,
Right.
And thank God I had them because my husband was like, everything's fine. And then he would be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that. So I had to be the safety police,
Hmm.
but it just kind of stayed. And that's when I really had to go, okay. But the whole time I kept telling myself, if I just play it safe, if I just keep a regular job, no crazy responsibilities, I don't try to climb the corporate ladder or do anything crazy, just stay in my safety bubble, I'll be fine. I was trying to manage the anxiety by not doing anything that made it flare up. And then my daughter got into competitive cheer, and she's a tiny little thing, so of course she became the flyer, the one they put up in the
Oh, yeah.
stunts.
Yep.
Well, we realized that she had developed a terror of heights, not just a fear of heights, but she was terrified. They went to put her up, and she lost her mind. And I looked at her, and this was the kid that as a toddler would climb up and just jump off of things. So this was a new fear. And I realized, oh my God, she got that from me. My anxiety is starting to affect her. She's starting to
Hmm.
pick it up. So that was the second that I was like, okay, we have to do something about this. We have to resolve this. And that's how I kind of dove into the mindset and really decided, you know what? Playing it safe is not helping. It's not doing anything. That's a lie I've been telling myself. And so I just went for it, started building the business, started really figuring out, okay, this isn't working. My strategy is perfect. My business model is perfect. It's not working because of something internally. I'm blocking it somehow. And so I
Right.
just kind of had to work through and figure out, where I was blocking it, what was happening. And that was when I kind of dove into the nervous system side of it because I was like, none of this mindset stuff is working. So
Right.
we got to figure this out.
Right.
And that's when the mind body connection came in. And I started really focusing on my health, keeping my body strong, exercise, sunlight, all the things.
Hmm.
And that's when the connection kind of happened and the big aha moment of, oh, this was the missing piece. And so, I really have been able to regulate my anxiety that way. I got myself a mentor that I can talk to,
Hmm.
that can call me out on my stuff and help me see blind spots that I might not be able to see. And, just keep on it. My daughter is now the most amazing flyer. She'll go and the coaches will be like, we want to try this new stunt. And so she'll be like, okay. And they just, throw her up and do whatever. And she's like, whatever, we'll try it. Let's
I love
go.
that.
Yeah. So it's been incredible.
Speaking of your daughter, obviously she's a little young to like know everything when it comes to your journey. But have you thought about how you're going to explain like where you've come from and how you got there and all of that with her?
We do tell her. At 9 years
I
old,
love
she
that.
knows that we cannot drink alcohol. And she knows that that's how we met. And, because she sees the other moms when we're at cheer functions and whatever.
Yeah.
And she can relate to it by it's an allergy. Yeah, we're allergic to alcohol.
I mean, yeah, that's
That's how they teach it to you when you go through treatment is your
yeah.
body physically reacts to alcohol differently. So it is an allergy. It may not be the, same as a peanut allergy, but your body has an allergy to it. So that's how she understands it. She knows that we don't drink. She knows that I like my fake mocktails and that she can have a little sip of those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it makes her feel fancy. She likes to drink out of the champagne flutes. She'll drink her fruit
I love
punch
it.
out of the champagne flutes. But she understands, and since she's 9 and she's very smart, she can also see other people when they start drinking. She sees the shift in their personality and how they behave. So she's picking up on that and she's
Yeah.
learning, oh, maybe this is why they don't drink. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's been my
we've always been as honest as we could be and keep it age appropriate.
yeah, that was my biggest thing with like cutting back as I was like I remember growing up and seeing all the aunts and uncles and all the like fist fights because people were drinking and everything else.
Yes.
And I was like, I knew I was kind of a mess if I like went a little too far. And I was like, I don't want my nephew to see that. I don't want him to grow up and be like, he is hammered again. It's a weird thing when there's kids involved. Suddenly you're like, oh, this is why I do what I do kind of deal.
It's so true. It's so true. She has been the biggest blessing, not just because it gives me the push, to keep going, even when I'm like, building a business is hard, especially these days.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that I'm like, maybe I should just get a real job. And then I'm like, no, she's watching. I can't tell her to dream big and go for it and not do that myself. If I'm going to
Right.
tell her, I have to show her. I have to set the example. This is not a do as I say, not as I do situation. This is a show her what it takes, that you can actually do it, and, make it normal for her so that when she grows up, her comfort zone is not struggle or giving up or, just getting by. Her comfort zone needs to be going for it, doing big things. So trying to shape her to be comfortable with doing big things.
It's it's definitely a lot when you're trying to teach that to a child while you're also reteaching it to yourself.
She is the biggest mirror for me
Yeah.
because I see so much of what's good and what I need to work on. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the level of sass that she comes back at me with, I'm like,
Yeah.
but I can't even be mad because I know where you got it from.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's definitely a crash course in self development.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking speaking of self-development, what is your favorite part about being a coach?
Oh, it is being able to help others when I can see that they are more than capable of achieving what they're dreaming of and helping them see where they're blocking themselves, helping them see the old story that is keeping them from achieving what they are more than capable of achieving, and just watching that growth and seeing them actually achieve their dreams and even more than that, and see them believe in themselves and realize that, those old fears, those old doubts were not really theirs, and they step into what they're capable of.
I love that. I love that so much. Where can we find you? Like website, Instagram, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, and I'm yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love that. And the
Yeah.
username is what exactly?
It's Michelle Savage, and it's Michelle with one L. So
Yes.
it's Michelle Savage.
So
Otherwise
yeah,
known as Michael. People misread that all the time and call me
I love
Michael.
that for you.
So yeah, it's awesome.
I absolutely love that for you. Um, yeah, kind of a last question just to wrap. Jeremy, your husband, what is obviously a huge supporter of everything you've been doing. Um, how has he helped with sobriety, this business? Obviously, he helps you with your little mental health reset that you need. How does he, as a partner, kind of help fuel all of this?
I think there's two ways that he's really helped me is his insane attitude of everything always works out. Why are you stressing about it? Everything's always fine. He just has this crazy, ridiculous luck that I've never seen before. And it used to make me so angry that he
Mhm.
just had this crazy luck and didn't ever worry about anything. And I was like, why do I have to
Right.
worry about everything? You should
Huh.
worry about this stuff too. And then one day I realized maybe he's kind of onto something. And
Right.
so I started, really, I think he's an extreme case. I think there's a happy medium, but I
Right.
did kind of start to realize that he's not wrong.
Mhm.
And then as far as mindset on money and what we're able to achieve, he was my first test client. He doesn't know it, but I really had to work on his mindset around, you know, money, wealth, what we're capable of, knowing your worth, and being able to quit my full-time job and do this full time and believe that it
Mhm.
was going to be successful and that we were going to be okay. And the minute he was like, I believe in you, I think you can make this work. Let's do it.
I
I
love
was
it.
like, you are my biggest success case ever. I love it.
I absolutely adore that so, so much. Um, Michelle, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. It's, something to really think about.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.